Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at an Alsace Pinot Gris. The producer is Josmeyer, the vintage 2020. Now this is a family-owned company, highly respected. Started out as a négociant business back in 1854, but then in 1963 Hubert Meyer set about producing his own wines. The estate's 28-hectare estate. This comprises of 90 plots of vines, and they're based in Wintzenheim, near Colmar, in the Auxerrois. Their vineyard holdings include plots in the Grand Cru Brand and Hengst. And today, the estate is run by two sisters, Celine and Isabel, who took over the running of the estate from their father, Jean. An important fact to know about this estate is that the cultivation is done entirely biodynamically. They've been doing this since 2000 and they received certification for their biodynamic practices in 2004. They make a number of different ranges of wines. They have a premium range of wines, the Artist series. They have what they refer to as a terroir series. They have their Grand Crus, obviously. They have what they call special wines, so sweet wines, in other words. So years when they're able to make vendange tardive and sélection grain nobile. These are termed as special wines. Then they have a range of wines that are made as vin de France. That includes a Pinot Noir, for instance. So wines where they're being perhaps a little more experimental. Having said that, I cannot see where the wine with this particular label fits into this range. They have a well-known Pinot Gris, Le Frontenac, which is in their Artist series. Then they have a Pinot Gris in their Terroir series, which is named Pinot Gris Un Certain Regard. Looking at their website, however, that shows a Muscat in the Terroir series with this label. So I wonder if this is a legacy label, the previous labelling before they had the particular names for the different wines in the Terroir series. And perhaps this label either predates those or is one that's been bottled for a particular retailer subsequently to maintain the brand in that particular store. Having said that, I looked at their winemaking for all their Pinot Gris, and actually they describe exactly the same process. So you have the fruit coming from old vines. In the Artist series, those vines were 40 years old. In the Terroir series, they say the vines are 80 years old. The difference being the vineyards they come from. So they have Pinot Gris vineyards in Wintzenheim, in Turkheim, and in Wettelsheim. The soil work they do involves sowing between every second row, and then there's light ploughing, presumably to return that crop into the soil to enable it to act as a fertiliser. The fruit's 100% hand-picked. When it arrives at the winery, it's whole bunch pressed, and they describe the pressing being a long, slow pressing taking up to 6 hours. Settling occurs naturally, and the fermentation starts using the indigenous yeasts that are already present in the winery. There's no addition of a yeast culture. Now, my understanding is that fermentation starts for most of their wines in stainless steel tanks, and then the wines are transferred before the end of fermentation to some small century-old oak tuns that the estate is very proud of owning. The wine then remains there probably until the following summer, with its fine lees, adding a little bit of richness to the wine, and the time in oak just allowing the wine to stabilise. The wines will be lightly filtered into bottle. They do say that at this stage they may add sulphur if that is necessary. And then Josmeyer have a reputation for allowing the wines to age in bottle in their cellars for longer than most other producers, ensuring the wines reach consumers with good maturity. So let's have a look at the wine and see what we make of it, shall we? We have here a medium yellow colour. There's quite a reasonable depth there, almost a sort of a slight golden hint. Swirling it, the wine has 13.5% alcohol, and yes, there are tears forming, small tears on the side of the glasses running back down into the bowl of the glass. Let's see what we make of the aroma, shall we? On the nose, there's a high-toned note of really ripe pear. There's a sort of a slightly phenolic, but very lifted, lovely ripe note. There are perhaps hints of citrus, maybe a sort of grapefruit undertone as well, just at the top there. But as I say, it's mostly that pear note, perhaps a slight grapey touch as well. There's a richness. It seems a little sort of oily So let's have a taste. On the palate, the wine is dry. There's a rounded, rich, juicy, oily note. Now there certainly are notes of bottle development here. You have that, as I was saying, rich, slightly phenolic note of pear, and you are getting a sort of a phenolic touch in the mouth as well. But there's a sort of a hint of almost toastiness, almost gunpowder notes, some of which may be fermentation aromas from a wild ferment, that would make sense. But also, as I say, that toastiness, just showing that sort of bottle development, a sort of reductive aging that's sort of sitting beneath the lovely fresh fruit. And there's good acidity coming through as well. There is a nice minerally crispness running through this wine. So you've got this ripe, juicy, rich, quite textured fruit. And then there's a freshness, ensuring that the finish has, you're starting to see again, I mentioned grapefruit notes. There are notes of clean, there's clean acidity, notes of grapefruit pith almost coming through, leaving a lovely sort of mouth-watering cleanliness to the finish, and allowing the wine to get away with its sort of mid-weight, oily notes without seeming clumsy. You know, the acidity sort of cleans it up really nicely at the finish there. The wine's a 2020 vintage, so it's coming up for 4 years old. It's got some nice maturity. It's showing some signs of bottle. I think it will gain more of that kind of character. But I think you could certainly keep this in the cellar for 5 or 6 years, possibly longer, and expect it to continue improving. There is a pungency to it, there's an intensity, and as I say, it's lovely freshness, should keep it stable and enable it to age. At the same time, it's perfectly accessible now. It's a lovely drink and very enjoyable. So that was Josmeyer Alsace Pinot Gris 2020. Thank you so much for joining us. I do hope you've enjoyed watching the tasting. If you have, it would be great if you pressed the like button. If you'd like to watch more of our tastings, do please subscribe to our channel. And that way you can set yourself an alert and be notified every time we publish a new tasting. If you have any comments you'd like to leave, please do put those in the comments box below. We would love to hear your feedback about the wines we're looking at, the tastings we're doing, or anything else relating to that. If you have any friends you think might like to watch the video, do please feel free to share it with them. We'd be very much obliged to you for that. I will leave a link in the notes below to the Wine Searcher page for this vintage of this wine, so you can find out where it's available, what its pricing is. You can look at the tabs. You can see any other information we've got about the wines. You can have a look at the critics' scores and the wine's price history. There's plenty of background there. So thank you so much for joining us, and I do hope you'll be able to make some time and come and join us for another tasting in the very near future. Thanks again. Bye for now.